Let's see. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nita Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paskachada Satarani. That is a short mantra or prayer to perfect, thank you, to my teacher, that may I represent him properly, or at least to the best of my ability. So what I was thinking is that there's what they call the either-or question. Either the world is happening by random chance. It is simply, the universe is silent, sterile, cold. By that I mean there's no rhyme or reason to the thing. Just laws of physics interacting. Or there's some design, there's some purpose. If there's no purpose, if there's just no rhyme, no reason, random laws of physics, chance crashing into each other, then why pretend that there is? There used to be a beer ad when I was a kid. It said, you only go around once in life, get all the gusto you can. So, okay, if that's the way it is, live fast, leave a good corpse. And get all the gusto you can. But what if there actually is a purpose? What if there is a rhyme and a reason to the thing? Then that is the most important thing. That's what I should be doing with my life. If there is no, it's the either-or question. It's either one or the other. Either it's happening by random chance, and why pretend that there is some meaning? Just, crash through it and do the best you can. Or if there is a reason, then shouldn't I find out what that reason, what that purpose, what that seems like that should the business I should be getting about. So let's look at it for a moment. Just one of our acharyas, that's an interesting light, one of our teachers, he says, common sense, that quality so rarely used. It's being a bit sarcastic. Common sense, that quality so rarely used. So, if we look at our experience, do we find, because the premise is that life, there was, whatever it was, there was some random combination of chemicals, amino acids, whatever, some lightning bolt, and somehow or other proteins developed, and it all, from prebiotic soup, primordial soup, here we are now. It all evolved from a simple to a more complex. We don't actually find that in our experience. Like you guys all showed up here. Bus, car, walked, parachuted. I don't know how you all got here somehow or other. And if you showed up and everything was all jumbled up, the lights were off, most importantly, there was no nice vegetarian feast, you think, hey, what's up? Who's in charge? What happened? Wherever we see pattern, symmetry, order, design, there's always intelligence behind it. Rather, when we experience chaos in our life, or chaos, in a system, it usually means the absence of intelligence. Or what is it, the law of entropy, that something will stay at a state of rest unless acted on by an outside force. Something's got to put it in motion. And I was mentioning the other day, anyway, it's a long story, but there's a whole set of bacteria that live in the soil They create a system that allow the trees in the forest to have some kind of communication. It's a very elaborate communication system. The way the currents of the air, it's not just the Gulf Stream. There's all kinds of far-out currents and interactions that affect the tides in the ocean. There's all kinds of complex systems. Structure of a single cell is amazingly complex and interrelated and interdependent. So if we actually just impartially look at the thing, the logical conclusion when we see so many interrelated, finely tuned, interdependent systems in our existence. I'm thinking about the time because I want to get to another point. It is reasonable to conclude that there is an intelligence behind this existence creation. There's a design, there's an intelligence, which means there's a purpose. That is a logical conclusion. Now, let me ask you a quick riddle. There's a radio station sending out a signal, strong signal. Radio KRSNA, Krishna, sending out a strong signal. Okay, but what else is needed to receive those messages? You got to have ears, okay, fine. But what else? Don't overthink it, my friends. Radio, got to have a radio. Signals coming out, got to have a radio. But what else do you need to have that radio? Who said that? Way to go. You got to have it tuned into the right frequency. You tune it into the right frequency, then you can pick up the signal. So our premise is, at least something for you to think about, is that behind this facade or experience, there's intelligence, there's design, there's a purpose. Then why don't I know it? Why don't I experience it? How can I know for sure? Well, the signal's being sent out, but we have to be tuned into it. We have to learn, you have to tune it. Our consciousness, sometimes it's referred to as our heart. We got a strobe light system going on. It doesn't matter, we'll just get used to it, But thank you, Bhakti Alex. Made me think of something else, but I won't say it. These things, it's called Harsha Shoka in the Vedic literature. We're using lights, we're using this, that, so many. I got an iPad here, we're using so many things, but they're called Harsha Shoka, means they bring happiness and distress. So whatever material devices, which, they bring some happiness, they also bring some distress. But the point I was making is that it is reasonable to conclude behind this existence, there's a grander scheme of things. There's a design, there's a plan, there's a purpose. How can we know it? Well, just as the signal's coming out, but you got to tune the radio, we have to tune our consciousness. We have to, there's some of our, sometimes it's referred to cleaning one's heart or tuning one's consciousness. There is a science, there is an art, there is a methodology. It is not just, someone's happy by chance or someone's there's what's blocking us, what's blocking the signal, the heart receptor. Talk about heartburn. This is the real heartburn. Is lust, greed, anger, envy, all that turbulent emotion, all that's going on. There's a from attachment, from contemplation, attachment develops. There's a whole progression given in Bhagavad Gita. And when our attachment is frustrated, there's anger. When there's anger, the memory is bewildered. So many things. And if we can see it working, Krishna gives I'm just thinking of the time. Krishna gives an analogy in the Gita. That's one of our source books, the Bhagavad Gita. That, when you were a kid, connect the dots and it creates a picture? You know, and you get it's a dinosaur, or, an elephant or whatever it is. Krishna gives a progression that if we want to become happy, and everybody wants to become happy, however they define it. Maybe it's happy by helping others, maybe it's happy by filling my belly, maybe it's happy by, hang gliding, whatever it may be. A little ant is looking for sugar, the plant will turn towards the sun. So every conscious entity in its own way is looking for happiness. How you define that's another thing, but they're looking for happiness. But in the human form of life, Krishna says if you want to become happy, you have to become peaceful, which makes sense. If your mind is agitated, disturbed, you can be in Tahiti, and if your mind's agitated or, wherever it is, you won't become happy. Okay, so connect the dots. I want to become happy. That's a common denominator, general aspiration, universal aspiration. If I want to become happy, I got to become peaceful. Okay. Well, what's the next logical question? Well, how do I become peaceful? Krishna says we become peaceful by controlling the senses. The Bhagavad Gita gives an example, and you can get a copy of the Gita. We don't get a commission. In other words, these are source books. Take it home, news you can use. That we have to control the senses, because the senses are compared to horses pulling a chariot, and if the horses are completely out of control, going this way and that, you're going to go right off a cliff. You got to control the senses. It's an analogy Krishna gives in the Gita. The body is compared to a chariot, the senses are compared to horses, the mind is compared to the reins, the intelligence is the driver, and we're just the passenger. We're in that. The body being the chariot. I'll give it again because it's a nice analogy. Think about it. The senses are like the horses pulling us out into the world. The mind is controlling it. It's like, we're getting all the raw information. The mind puts it in different menus. You can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And then the intelligence picks. The intelligence is driving. And we're the passenger. If we can have that, what do they call a 10-second delay or a 2-second delay, instead of just stimulus response, stimulus response, stimulus response, Nike, just do it. No, it would be a good idea to think before we do it. That's not a bad idea, actually, Think before you do it. But we're so, and I'm speaking to myself as well, don't get me wrong, but we're so conditioned that happiness means stimulate my senses, whatever it is, stimulus response, got a desire, fill it, got an itch, scratch it. We're just trained like that. But if we can see the sequence of what's happening, this is the process of cleaning the heart so we can receive the signal. If we learn the art of, okay, we have to, Krishna says you want to become happy, you got to become peaceful. Want to become peaceful, you got to control the senses. Okay, how do I control the senses? You've got to control the mind. Because the mind is really driving the thing. You can have two people sitting right, all the material circumstances can be exact, same weather, same conditions, same economic, whatever it may be. And you got two people sitting right next to each other, one's completely agitated and one's peaceful. So it's not the conditions, it's actually the mental state that determines the experience. So, okay, I got to control the mind. How do I control the mind? Krishna says, with purified intelligence. Well, okay, how do I get purified intelligence? And it's described, Krishna says, purified intelligence means when the intelligence is fixed in something sublime, something transcendental. What is that transcendental? I'm not this body. I'm the soul within. I'm eternal. I've had so many lives. I've been up and down, black and white, male and female, king and pauper. I've been all around 1,000,000 times. Am I going to be like a dog chasing my tail yet again? What's in my real self-interest? And when one thinks like this, it's described that, what is the word? Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasojate nakanchate. Again from Gita, it's Sanskrit. And it describes that when one begins to have the taste of the happiness of the self, they're free from hankering, free from lamenting. If you think about it, again, the mind being our actual determination, the determinator of our experience. The mind is thinking of geez, when's this guy going to stop talking and they're going to serve the dinner? What am I going to do after this? I got all that homework to finish, or oh, geez, I got to get to bed because I got to go to work early in the morning. So we're thinking about thinking about the future, or we're lamenting about the past. Oh, geez, I didn't do this, or I should have done that, or why did I stop? So the mind is always in this. It's either looking for the forward, looking for the past. It's either hankering or lamenting. Nasojite, nakanchite. When one is in spiritual, getting the happiness of the self, the truly living in the now, by understanding I'm not the body, I'm not the senses, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intelligence, I'm the soul within which is eternal. When one understands that, begins to taste that, another corollary or a byproduct of that is pandita samadarshanha. One sees everyone as equal. One actually becomes suhridam sarvabhutanam, is a name for Krishna, but it means the friend of all things. One actually is friend to the ant, to the, one sees equally. So our simple point is that what we are offering here, news you can use, news you can take home with you, is news you can develop like a muscle. You can develop a muscle. You can develop good habits. We can develop so many things. There's a way to train the mind. We're not meant to be simply reactive. And the great yogis and sages and rishis, sadhus they say, or saints of India, and Vedic tradition. And you'll find the same thing, frankly, in every genuine spiritual tradition. It is universal, it is global. Is the art of how to control the mind, how to control the senses, how to clean the heart. And when that heart is cleaned, one will pick up the signal of understanding the purpose, that there is a supreme, there's a design, there's a rhyme, or there's a reason. My spiritual master said one time, you think you're sitting on the floor? He said, I'm sitting in the hand of Krishna. That happiness, that security, that fearlessness, we're not even worried about death. He's thinking about something else. Like in a hurry to get nowhere. So anyway, we'll end there. But my simple point is that it's a great science. It is an art. It can be applied. And the signal is going out. But the work is ours. The real doesn't mean you don't, go to school or have a job or take care of your family. It's not. We're not talking about that. It's not a binary world. But we all have. What is it? I was reading the other day how much time we spend in the totality of our life waiting for lights to turn green. I mean, it adds up. It's quite. I don't know. It's like a month out of our life. You're just waiting for the light to turn green. So if you think about it, we do so many things. I don't have time. We got time to, fool around on the, so many things. But if we take a little time, my spiritual master used to say, drops of water wear away stone. If we take a little time to introduce into, we got time for so many other things. If we invest how much time we spend standing in line, if anybody ever has time to do a little Google search on, somebody sent me another list of weird ways people die. People die getting out of bed. People die in the bathtub. You know what's a big killer? Making toast. Yeah, they stick the fork. So, it's amazing the things that happen in this world. So, how much time we waste. If we just figure out how in our life I'm going to spend a little time every day, morning time, early morning before we do anything else is really good, for a little meditation on the holy name, the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, or a little time I'm going to read 5 minutes a day, one of these spiritual, and get my bearings, get my wheels aligned here before I go out on the road, If we tune our heart, the signal will gradually come in completely clearly. There's a verse, I promise we'll end here, Yeyatam mam prapadyante, from the Gita. And Krishna is saying, as you step towards me, I reveal myself. It's reciprocal. And my spiritual master said it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. We take one step to Krishna, Krishna will take 10 to us. So it's our work is to tune the radio, tune the heart, tune the consciousness. It's not that hard, actually. You just have to do it every day. Drops of water wear away stone. Okay, we can end there. Yeah? We got permission, Balaram? And what happens now? Everybody knows. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.